Okay, it looks like we're online now.
Great, thank you, Marissa. This is Storm Mitchell calling the meeting of the City of South Fulton Historic Cultural Landmarks Commission meeting to order for September 18th, 2020. Marissa, if you'll quickly do a roll call and verify quorum.
Yes, I will. Ms. Shakia Guest. Can you hear me? Ms. Shakia Guest?
Hello.
Okay, she's present. Dr. Lynn Amibi? Ms. Sybil Talley?
I'm present.
Dr. John Herring?
Present.
Charles Storm Mitchell?
Here.
Carmen Hallowell Ferguson?
She put in the chat that she's present, but she can see everybody, but we can't hear her.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Elizabeth T. Miller. Chairman, it looks like we have a quorum.
Thank you. Appreciate you taking care of that for us. Real quick, trying to think if we, Dr. Herring, can you open us with just a quick word of prayer?
Sure, no problem. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us this opportunity to praise your holy name. We thank you for allowing us once again to come and praise your name in order for us to conduct the business of South Fulton County Commission. We pray, Father, for the persons that are on this call. We pray for those families that are on this call. We pray for those that are going through these uncertain times. These are the blessings we ask in your Son, named Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Herring. Real quick, we had some old business to take care of. Marissa, I think the first item was looking at our ordinance and bylaws. Excuse me. We need to go back and go ahead and approve the minutes for the former meetings. Let's start with January 14th. Anybody have any corrections or amendments to that, to those minutes? Hearing none, real quick, Marissa, if you won't mind going down to the new business section on page 2 under paragraph 4, that should read new village center rather than centered.
Okay, I can make that update.
Thank you. And are there any other corrections to the January 14th minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move that the minutes be accepted as noted.
Can you get a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved. Looking at July 14th minutes, do I hear any amendments or modifications? Marissa, if you would mind looking under new business, under item C, I was inquiring as to when the city would be reopening. It just needs to be reopening, ing on there.
Thank you. I can make that update.
Any other amendments or modifications? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion for approval.
Mr.
I
Chair,
motion
move
to
that we
approve the
accept.
minutes.
So move.
Did we get a second in there as well?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The
Thank you.
678 number for the record.
Come back.
It's okay.
And then we have the, that was approval on the July 14th minutes. Then we have August minutes. Anyone have any, this was the work session with Paul. Anybody have any modifications or amendments? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
I move that the minutes be accepted as noted.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Those minutes are approved. One thing that, going back over, we're looking at the new ordinance that will modify the original ordinance back in, that we did back in, I think, 17 for the creation of the Historic Cultural Landmarks Commission.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you are very timely bringing that issue up. This is Nathan, everyone. I actually asked the city manager's executive assistant what the status of that was today. That had not made it to the city manager's desk yet. So I know those two documents, the updated ordinance and the bylaws, were approved by this body a while ago. They're going to get resubmitted to the city manager's office to get moved to the city council. So I would expect to see that on council agenda later on this year, but we're going to resubmit that to the city manager's office for review.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Real quick, before you do so, and anybody chime in if there's anything else that you see on there that may need to be, we may need to look at again. Under the ordinance, the revised ordinance, there are a couple of mentions of the Preservation Commission rather than the HCLC, and they seem to be used interchangeably. We need to go through and verify that either change the Preservation Commission to the HCLC or define what the Preservation Committee or Commission might be as a committee rather than being this commission.
Is the attorney on this call? I guess not. Okay.
Nathan, if you don't mind calling that to their attention, I think it's right. I think it's in the second page that we're interchanging Preservation Commission with HCLC.
Okay, the attorney says she's on the call, but she is unable to speak. For some reason, she's muted. And I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to go. Marissa's having some issues getting the presentation up. I'm going to walk over to her office. So I'm going to step away for just 1 second, but I'll be right back.
I think, Nathan, if you can just, I don't necessarily know that we need to, if y'all would just take a look at that and verify that. And if we need to have it just needs to be amended or taken care of before it goes back to the council. And just to be sure that we got our T's crossed and I's dotted. And
Okay,
if there is something significant there, please advise me and we can reconvene this, the HCLC to discuss it if necessary.
Okay.
But I just want to call that out so we don't have any issues that might be, we are setting this thing up so that hopefully it's, I hate to use the terminology, but bulletproof in the future, that it cannot be contested. This organization or this commission cannot be contested in the future if we find ourselves in some sort of a legal issue. And that way we can be sure that we've got our ducks lined up.
Okay, the comment in the chat is that will be confirmed.
Thank you. Nathan, I appreciate that. Also, in the bylaws, there is some confusing information in there as opposed to our original bylaws. There is something about how the HCLC members are determined. If we can go through and clarify that as well. There are two different areas in there. The original HCLC, the original ordinance establishing the HCLC, identified that the council members would determine a member from each of the districts. It is not clear if that's the way it's to be in the future with the new bylaws that we're looking at. And we just need to clarify that if we can.
No problem.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question or concern about the amended ordinance or the revision of the bylaws? Hearing none, do we have any other old business? Hearing none, moving ahead to new business. Marissa, did you have something that you want to bring up on the new business?
Yes, I thought this would be a good time for us to start discussing the oral history project. And so I was just going to kind of give you guys some ideas of what our next steps might be, if you guys are ready to hear that.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to pick up on what you were saying. It kind of broke up there a little bit.
Okay, so I was saying, I have some ideas on how we might proceed with the oral history project. So I have some slides ready for that if you guys are wanting to hear those or go through those at this time.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I tried logging in through a different browser to see if that would have worked, and that looks like it worked.
Oh, perfect. If you would comment on the ordinance and bylaws, that would be very useful.
Sure. So I think there was a question about whether it was called a preservation commission or HLCL, the HCLC, the short form. I think it's been used interchangeably, and I can go through the ordinance again and the bylaws again and confirm what terminology has been used throughout. I have to look at it again, but it's definitely defined in the ordinance and the bylaws.
Thank you, thank you. There are a couple of places in there where a preservation commission is used, and I think referring to HCLC, and we just need to be sure that we can either define what the preservation committee as a part of the HCLC would be, or just strike that and make that the HCLC. But that's, I mean, I'm not the one with the legal hat on here, so I yield to you as to what you advise.
Okay, I'll get back to you on this. I'll just send everyone an email so everyone's on the same page, but we can address this.
Thank you. And you may have missed out if there is an issue that needs to be brought before the HCLC, we can reconvene. I think everybody is comfortable enough that we could probably get a quorum together if we need to approve any modifications that are different.
Sure. Mhm.
Thank you.
Keep in mind too that the ordinance is only going to be the parts that are being changed or edited, not the entire ordinance. So there could be parts like definitions, et cetera, that just would not be in this section, but that would be part of the ordinance as it stands today too.
Okay. Except Nathan, go back and take a look at both the original document and this new one, and see if I don't find where the Preservation Commission is defined. The original intent when it was originally being discussed, when the HCLC was being originally set up, was the Historic and Cultural Preservation Committee, and that may be where this was coming from. So, the preservation was changed to landmarks, and I don't know if there was a legal reason for that or what that reason was, but that seems to be where it and how it got involved, or how it got into the ordinance to begin with. So I assume, based on some of the Dr. Herring's feedback that he received from the state, that maybe we need to be the Historic and Cultural Landmarks Commission rather than Preservation Commission. And that was just my take on it. Now I'll yield to the legal on that as to if it makes any difference which way we define ourselves.
It makes no difference how we define ourselves, but we have to be, it's in our best interest that we stay consistent in the ordinance and the bylaws. That's just for us, so that, we're referring to ourselves as one entity. However, as far as the City of South Fulton is concerned, it's the Historic and Landmarks Commission. That's how we're referred.
Great. Okay, let's move ahead with that. And unless anybody have any issues or things, well, go ahead and if you can arrange to review the document and see if you can catch any of those areas where they may be interchanged, I would appreciate it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. So back to Marissa and how she was moving ahead with some of, well, we have several things to talk about, but Marissa had a topic I believe she wanted to discuss.
Hello. So earlier in some of our previous conversations, it had come up that the commission was interested in pursuing the oral history project. And so other members of the staff and I had kind of put our heads together over these last couple of weeks to talk about what our next steps might be with that. And so I have a small presentation for you all, if I can make the next one. And so first, I think before we do anything else, we kind of have to think about if we do pursue an oral history project, what neighborhoods we might want to focus on. Or
can you speak a little louder, please?
I'm sorry.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Yes, I can. So I was saying, if we do decide to pursue an oral history project, we need to consider a lot of different things. For example, which neighborhoods we might want to pursue next, or what areas might be of interest. So some examples that I had were Sandtown, Fife, and Red Oak. But were there other neighborhoods in addition that you all felt might be particularly historic or distinguishable that you might want to add to the list? And then after we have areas of focus, if we do pursue an oral history project, how might we find and contact interviewees to figure out which people to.
Marissa, I hate to interrupt. I'm sorry. Marissa, is there a way you can maybe go in Nathan's office or Dana's office to use their audio? Your mic isn't coming through clear.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I want to make sure they're hearing everything you're saying.
Give me just 1 minute. I'll go over to her office real quickly.
Thanks, team.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so back to the presentation. Some members had expressed interest in pursuing an oral history project. And so there are a few different ways we could approach this. And I think one of the first things we probably would have to do is think about what neighborhoods we'd want to designate. So some examples I thought of were Sandtown.
Can we get the presentation back up, please, Marissa?
Okay, can you not see it?
I see it.
I can see it.
Okay, so some examples I had thought of were Sandtown, Fife, Red Oak. But off the top, do you guys have any other neighborhoods you might want to add? And then also we needed to talk about how we might find and contact interviewees and people to interview or talk to about their experiences or what information they have about our city. And then the last kind of topic to discuss today is like, what exactly do we want to know and what questions will we have for them? Because we want to have the questions kind of leading in a, kind of leading towards something so that we're gaining specific information that we want to have. So those are three things that we could kind of discuss today, kind of to get the project going.
Perfect, Marissa. That is excellent. You might want to add Campbellton as well. The oldest members in the Campbellton area are beginning to, unfortunately, pass on. It would be well if we can get on down there. The members of the old Campbellton Methodist Church probably are our best source there. And let's add Campbellton as well, as that is the area that really made these oral histories, kind of brought them to the forefront, that we need to get these things going as quick as we can.
Yeah, most definitely. So I'll add Campbellton and Campbellton Methodist Church to the list. Did anyone else have ideas?
Marissa, just out of curiosity, have we thought to maybe survey the residents as well as the community to see what their thoughts are on this subject?
We haven't. We could definitely pursue a survey. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
That is excellent. I was hoping that Member Miller was going to be involved here today, and had talked to her earlier in the week about a rezoning that they have coming up actually next Tuesday in their neighborhood. As a matter of fact, it is surrounded in South Fulton by residential properties. And this rezoning will be for a distribution warehouse. And within the city of South Fulton, it is surrounded by residential properties. only the property to the north in the city of Fairburn is a like zoning, but the two properties east and west of the proposed rezoning are residential. The properties directly across the street are residential. And unfortunately, she was inquiring whether or not the commission, HCLC, might have any influence over this. I said not without us designating the area 5 as being an historic area. And she was reaching out to the community members there in 5 to see if they would entertain or be willing to designate 5 as an historic area. And I told her to be sure that they are aware of what implications this has as to them being able to modify their homes and so forth, as well as the potential of being able to market their property at some future date. So she was hoping to get some feedback from the members of her community on this. It very well may be that is the first area that we may designate as historic. She is pushing that as hard as she can, hoping to have some group together by next Tuesday to defend the area against this rezoning. So just to make you aware of that.
So, Mr. Mitchell, thank you for that insert of information. Myself and Amelia are working with the council member of that area to, in fact, work with them on the historical components of Fife and designating them as such as you're mentioning, but we're working with Amelia first to kind of work towards that to see how that can in fact be mentioned. This is an idea that the city council member of that area, District 7, is working on. So that is in fact something he will announce at the council meeting on next Tuesday.
And believe me, I do appreciate you working with Baker on this, and I think he assisted to the community. It has been a matter of fact, I think some of the largest area of the oldest homes in South Fulton are in Fife. So if there is an area to preserve, this would be one. That actually could be made into a very interesting little community down there, much as they are talking about in Campbellton Crossroads. Even though, it doesn't have all the amenities that would attract, but it would still have some potential flavor in that area to make it an interesting little community. Again, Red Oak has some potential. Red Oak, I'm hoping that we have an opportunity of looking at some redevelopment plans for Red Oak. You have some historic opportunities there. You have some historic cemeteries as well as churches, as well as the significance of the historic. There used to be a small Red Oak post office across 29, between 29 and the railroad, long gone now, but there was a marker there at one time. I think it is now gone. But these are the type of things that we might want to get listed as quick as we can. Another area that we might want to consider is in the Sandtown community, Owl Rock Methodist Church. That is an interesting little church that's been there for, I don't know, I think back into the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. These are the kind of things I think we need to consider as top of our priority list on setting up for preservation.
Those are all great ideas. I'm wondering, I think that historic churches come up pretty often. So I'm wondering if there's already a list of churches that exist, because it might be a good idea to see if there's like a list or something, and then just go down the list to see which ones are older than 50 years old, and maybe see if there's contact information for the church managers or owners to see if they would like to be included or designated.
Oh, that is perfect. I believe so. I believe, and I'll reach out. I think James Reese had compiled a list of churches in South Fulton a while back, kind of as a directory of religious opportunities for newcomers and for people coming into the community. I'll try to reach out to him and find out where that is. I believe it was on his website at one time, and hopefully he still has that information available.
Most definitely, we can look into that. And then I know that some people have expressed really strong interest or desire to designate cemeteries as historic also. So that might be something else that we can add. I'm not sure if there's a list that we can go to, or maybe we just want to put it out there because I know residents will know where they are and things. Maybe we want to just put that out there and say like, hey, if you know them, email us or something like that. But that's another area of interest that I've seen a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are a lot of cemeteries that are family plots that are actually out in the woods that nobody would have a clue that they're there until they start looking at doing a development. And sometimes, unfortunately, in the past, some of those have been bulldozed because the families are not convenient enough to defend them. So this is something we do need to get involved with. I'm aware of several in the area of around the Hall Road community and McClure Road and those areas down there that are just maybe not a dozen graves to themselves.
Right. Okay, so that's a good idea. I think if we do a resident survey and we ask for areas of focus, we can also ask for if they know of cemeteries or churches that are historically significant, and maybe ask them if they have an address, a parcel number, or maybe even like worst case scenario, GPS coordinates, so we can try and figure out where some of those are and maybe get those on a list too. It sounds like that's what people are interested in.
Excellent idea.
Related to this, let me add in too, a good homework assignment for everyone might be, if you can think of a particularly good survey question or something that would help, that would be very relevant, go ahead and jot that down or send it to us, and we can compile those questions for when we would create the survey and post it online. And so that we wouldn't be scrambling to come up with some of the last minute or rushing. But so if something happens to come to you, please write it down and let us know.
Hello.
Dave, that's an excellent idea. Go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Ms. Talley, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I'm on a cell here. So my question, I love this idea of the oral history project, and it seems like this will be probably the first introduction of the HCLC to our community. So I'm curious to know, like, how are we going to position this project so that we can get the buy-in from our community?
Could you expand a little bit by what you mean by positioning?
Yes, exactly. So, right, we're starting to ask, we want to collect oral histories, right? But the community might not really know who we are as a commission. And so the thought is, will they understand what is this project designed for? What's the end purpose of it? So I'm just hoping that we'll have some type of context when we send out the survey as to why.
Marissa, is the Arcadia then on the next slide?
No, let's see, which slide is like Arcadia?
So I'm going to jump ahead on slides yeah, here we go. So I want to introduce this really quickly to us because I think this will answer this question and kind of get the light bulbs flashing. You probably all have seen the books that Arcadia Publishing puts out. They're smaller than letter sized. They're full of pictures and captions for local histories. And I do these for all kinds of areas across the entire country. If you go to their website, the Arcadia Publishing website, you will see, and Marissa, I don't know if you can pull up their website or not, you'll see an example of their book. As I said, I'm sure that you have seen their books around. So I contacted them last week. And what they do are different versions of these history books. Some have more pictures, some have more text. But basically, all we would need to do is scan the pictures that we would get and compile somewhat lengthy captions just with a description of pictures, maybe stories. But the books can range from things like 200 pictures and 30,000 words to like 50 pictures and 80,000 words, and they will put together these books for us. Now, there is going to have to be some discussion of how many copies we could arrange to be purchased and things like that at a future time. But I think if we research this is going to be the best way for us to go and give us a really tangible goal and a tangible product to work towards, because anyone can get a copy of these books and then it's memorialized in an actual hard product. So I don't know, and I'll stop talking to kind of let you guys vocalize about this, but a lot of communities do these, a lot of neighborhoods do these, and they're everywhere, all over the country. These history books exist, and so I think with enough community buy-in, we could definitely get the quantity of material to have a book like this.
This is great, Nathan. I actually have several of these books, and I think when we're talking about this project or gathering photos and stories, I mean, we need something to anchor it, and so if this is the end goal, then I can definitely see the community kind of rallying behind it.
I was hopeful that somebody would know exactly what they were talking about. Like you said, have some at their house already, so you'd know. And I think it's a really good. They're very reputable. Everyone knows about them. They're great quality books too. So I just think they're really great.
Yeah, you can even get them at Walgreens. They're very accessible.
I think that's a great idea in terms of the product at the end state. But I think the question that was originally posed was, how do we inform and alert the community to engage in what we are doing?
Excellent point, Dr. Henry. I think we might even need to include as previously mentioned, a survey. If we can make that available on the web, have an area that we can have something for HCLC, a small preface. Nathan, Marissa, and I, or anybody that wants to be involved, can put together maybe a short paragraph on the importance of identifying these areas and points of particular interest or areas of particular interest, and put a short survey out there as we have been discussing, and put some leading questions, and then have at least maybe a 10 or dozen line comment area where they can go in and leave their memories or their information relative to areas that we may have some interest in. So I believe this is something that we can come up with maybe a half a dozen to 8 questions, leading questions, to help stimulate some thought. And like, when did you first become aware of South Fulton, or what is your favorite spot in South Fulton, such as that. And I just open that to the group to find some leading questions to stimulate some thought, and then just get it out there, hopefully in a few media blast or something, to look at the HCLC survey and see if we can get some people to take a look at that. We may have to go, though, back to saying, do you know of someone that we need to interview? Because there will be some people that probably are not going to be comfortable or even have the availability to get on the computer to do this survey. So we need to have some means of accessing those folks as well.
And I think you're absolutely correct. In addition to those points of reference that you're chatting at the moment, we also need to have leadership engaged in the process, as well as some type of publication laying out, whether it's a short paragraph or a long paragraph. I noticed that the mayor's office put out a weekly newsletter or monthly newsletter or something of sort. So I think those are kind of things that we need to begin to ride the coattail on in terms of putting out what we do, what we all about, and our mission statement, those kinds of things, so that the community will not be, we're not rushing in the community cold. Someone would have some thought process to, yes, I heard about these guys and now we know what they really do. So I think if we engage in it from that perspective, I think we leverage ourselves to the point where we'd be more readily accepted. And yes, interviewing persons and researching the buildings and those kind of things, yes, but certainly I think we need to also engage the leadership.
Excellent point. That maybe we can, this introductory information that we're talking about, have each of the council people include in their monthly newsletters, as well as a link to the survey. That is just forward thinking. Thank you, Doctor. I think we can make that happen. And that way we could actually, as you're saying, we can get out to a broader group of people and access a broader group of people that way.
Thank you.
So, Marissa and Nathan, if y'all don't mind helping me with that, I'll put together some thoughts. Anybody else has any thoughts on what we might be able to include in our introduction to the city, so as to say, that we can include in that short paragraph or two about what we're doing and the importance of what we're doing. And that way we can get that out in the newsletters.
Now, in addition to that, do we have any inroads to Arcata Publishing, asking them for some thoughts? Because, hey, this is what they do. And let's not recreate the wheel here. Let's, try to get some assistance if it's free.
Yeah, so what they do, they really are a book publisher. So how it works is we go to them with an idea. They assign someone to us and kind of work through it to see how feasible it is. But in terms of getting the group set up and getting information from the community, we got to have to do that on our own. So,
gotcha.
I think what my takeaway is, what I'm hearing is, and we haven't talked about this just yet, but we have a website already for the group. There's a page on the city's overall website for us. So we need to put some effort into updating that, because that's where we would post a link to a survey that we would create. So to me, what I'm hearing, and please, let me know if I'm kind of off path here, but if we started with a website that anyone could go to that just had a description of the group, kind of things, our goals, et cetera, we could link a website there. We could also include, and this is kind of what I'm getting from Storm was saying, some kind of a write-up or section of the, I suppose, their monthly, whatever newsletters that go out from the council members to their constituents to kind of spread word about it as well.
Right.
And so that way, once we have a website up, we have a survey up gathering information and general thoughts, we have some communication going out from the council members about us. And keep in mind, we still need to get our ordinance and our bylaws approved by the council as well. Once there's some kind of notoriety is the wrong word. Once the group has some notoriety in the community, then we could say, okay, here's the project we're working on. Boom, it's a book. We need your pictures. We need your comments, captions, stories, that kind of stuff. Does that kind of thought process and process make sense?
Correct. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Nathan. That's perfect, spot on that. And take advantage of some of the resources that we have available to us. We just need to go out there and use our imaginations on what we can put actually on that website. We might even be able to come up eventually with a monthly point of interest or something, and that way people might inspire some interest in people actually coming back on a regular basis to see what we're talking about. So these are excellent thoughts, Nathan. Appreciate that, and Doctor and team. I think we can make this of actually have somewhat our own newsletter online that people can just go straight to the website and take a look at.
Marissa, would it be possible for you to pull up the? I'm sorry. Go on.
Go ahead.
Marissa, would it be possible for you to pull up that website so we can just see what it looks like really quickly? I know it's going to be sparse, but that's okay, just so we kind of know where we're starting with. And at some point in the not too far future, the city's getting a new website, so it will look different. But I think if we, and I can't, to be perfectly frank, I can't really write this for the group. I'm not a South Fulton historian, right? So, if there's any content that you think is relevant for our website, so there's not really much of anything there. So any pictures that would be good, just like as a backdrop, or any maps that might be good as a backdrop, any links, any other historic site, any, like, if you want to take some of your quarantine time and write a description of the group and figure out some things that might be good representation to the public, go ahead and do that, because we can get the stuff posted, and we can't do graphical stuff in terms of rearranging the website, but we can get some things posted so that there's a little bit of flavor on here as to what we are and what we're going to do here. So I'm kind of giving that assignment out to the group, but we have this space available to us right now. So as a first project, I think it's useful to take advantage of this small opportunity.
Excellent. Nathan, I didn't intend to saddle you with having to come up with this. I was hoping that you and Marissa could work with us on. We have some talented people on this commission, and I think we can come up with some of the verbiage and content. We just need your assistance in getting it into a format they can put on the website.
That's no problem at all. Like I said, any pictures, maps, drawings, if you have links to other relevant historic sites or any text that you want, send that over to us at any time, and we can work with our webmaster here to getting that on the website. And then at the same time, like I said, if we all want to think up relevant survey questions to sort of gather preliminary information, we can start putting that together in just a list, and we could then get a Survey Monkey and post a link to that on this page as well. And so these are some easy milestones for us, I think, to really make some notable progress.
Excellent. I apologize. I thought I heard a question coming in, and I didn't mean to step on whoever that was, but was there a question out there? Comment?
Yes, Storm. I was just looking at the list here, and I know we have some terms that are kind of coming up. I'm thinking October 1st, 2020, on some of the terms for some of us, and so what do we need to do about that? That
was going to be my next and maybe final comment in respect of everyone's time. I think it's appropriate to go ahead and talk about that. The bylaws state that every year we will re-elect new members, and actually at this time, I'm thinking that some of us may be rolling off of the commission. We need to verify that and need to find out whether our council people are going to reappoint us to these positions or not. But in September, and here we are right at the middle of September, we need to elect new officers. So I hate to kind of drop this on everyone right here at the last minute, but I'm going, if there's no other business relative to any more discussion relative to existing business, I'll open the floor for discussion and nominations for officers. I understand this may be a little difficult not being able to sit in the same room together. Does anybody have first of all, let me just open the floor this way. Does anybody have an interest in performing the duties of chairman? Because I'm sitting here. I've enjoyed working on this, but I mean, if somebody else would like to head up this group, full speed ahead.
I recommend we maintain the current status quo, if you ask me. And if you would accept, I think that would resolve the concern.
Is that a motion?
I move that we maintain the current status. Anyone second that? There's discussion in regards?
I second that.
Well, right off the bat, I am willing to continue to serve. How about the rest of the officers? Are they willing to continue?
I think that's a note that you have to contend with those persons October 1, 2020.
Okay. Well, hearing nobody wanting to give up their positions, there's been a motion, a second, to just proceed on with the current slate of officers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We don't have a quorum on that, do we?
There are actually a few notes in the chat from Miss Ferguson. She says, do we need to wait to see who will still be on the Historic and Cultural Landmark Commission? I have no issues with us maintaining who is currently on if they desire.
She has a very valid point. Shall we? If we did not get a quorum, I still think the motion may have failed. Do we want to wait and inquire of our respective council people as to whether or not we continue on this commission?
When is the next meeting?
I think according to the original bylaws that have not been changed yet, those people serving for even numbered districts, roll off during the even number years, serving a two-year term. So that would be myself in District 4. And so I'm willing to check with my council person. I'm trying
I'll check
to
with
think.
mine. I roll off this year too. This is Sybil. I'll check with Councilwoman Gums.
Okay. And
So I'd like to say something.
sure.
The term of members of this commission has been set for 2 years. And it started last year, and we signed the bylaws, I believe, was it last September? When we came together, and so this is going to be just 1 year. So the members have agreed to continue to be on this commission for at least 2 years, but the officers are selected annually every September. So the officers can remain the same, and the bylaws even allow for the members to succeed themselves. So we have 3 officers right now, and we just need a quorum to approve that they would continue to be the officers for this coming year.
Do we have a quorum at the moment?
Yes, we do.
So therefore, based on the legal opinion here, we can vote today.
All right. Let's go back and then based on the clarification, thank you very much. That kind of gets us lined back up on the railroad tracks here. So, I assume that was from Dr. Herring, the motion to continue with the existing slate.
Correct, sir.
And I guess we'll. Well, actually, as a clarification, I'm flipping through my head the Robert's Rules of Order. I think that if I'm not mistaken, I think we already have an approval with the comment that was provided. We do have 4 people anyway. Is that correct? 4 votes?
Would you all like to do a roll call vote?
I think that would be great.
How about this? Is there anyone opposed? Well, hearing no opposition, I mean, Marissa, we can do a roll call, but hearing no opposition to continuing, I'm willing to continue serving as chairman until next year. Anybody else that would desire to give it up, let me know, and we'll make arrangements. So as I understand it, we will continue with the current slate of officers. Is that correct?
Believe so.
I'm in favor.
Oh, I agree.
Okay, I know that's going to be a little bit awkward in the minutes, but just go ahead and say that there was a motion and a second to continue with the current slate of officers, and it was approved. Does that suffice for everybody?
Yes.
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 All right, full speed ahead. Well, in respect of everybody's time, let's run around real quick. Is there anyone else on the commission that has anything for the good of the commission?
I do.
Any other topics? Yes, sir.
Just a note of interest in regards to the Georgia Statewide Preservation Conference, which will be held virtual between September 21 through 25. The cost is $25.
Great, okay. And Marissa, can you help us provide a link to that, or if Dr. Herring will pass that on to you to get it out to everybody?
Yes, I can take care of that correspondence for you.
Thank you, Doctor. I think that's critical for all of us to be up to speed on. I guess that's kind of our oversight group that we have to be respectful for as far as the Georgia Historic Commission. Anybody else have anything for the good of the commission?
There are a few notes in the chat that I wanted to call attention to. Commissioner Ferguson said the Fulton County Police Department usually has a comprehensive list of area homeowner association communities and presidents. They can serve as a vehicle to help identify older community residents that may be knowledgeable about the community. And so I just wanted that to be for the record that, that's another way that we can kind of reach out to people and get the list out to let people know that we have the survey. And I think I think that as we're moving into, I just also wanted to kind of go through a timeline maybe to try to figure out what our timeline is going to be. So are we planning to tie up the survey at our next meeting in November? And if so, that would mean that between now and November, we would need 4 commissioners to email Nathan and I your questions and comments. And so then maybe in the November meeting, we can discuss a draft of the survey so that you guys see what questions are on it and what it looks like. But that would just require you guys to kind of give us your feedback on that before then. Like, not to give us your feedback, but email us questions and ideas you have about the survey before then.
Excellent. I think so. I think we can do that. If y'all don't mind compiling that, maybe on a periodic basis, sending out the kind of the questionnaire as is being developed, would save us from having to put chain emails together to all of ourselves. actually, I think that would be more appropriate than each of us putting our questions on the end of the previous email.
Mhm.
But that's up to everybody. If they will send them to Marissa or Nathan, and maybe mid-month, y'all can advise us as to how the questionnaire is coming along.
Yep, that sounds great. We'll give you guys an update mid-month.
Anything else for the good of the commission? Well, I appreciate everybody's attendance today. Thank you very much. Please be aware that we may be doing something for the Fife community shortly. They seem to be, I won't say panicked, over their rezoning in their community. But as I said, our commission member representing that area reached out to see whether or not we could be of any assistance in helping defeat the rezoning, as it will be actually I won't say in the middle of their community, but it will definitely set a kind of a cloud over their community. So any thoughts in that direction are appreciated. And I know that your comments will be appreciated by the Fife community on Tuesday evening. And those comments have to be, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Marissa, any comments have to be in before 5 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Is that correct, even for the zonings?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. If you go to the City Council's webpage, there is a public comment form that you should complete online and submit to the clerk's office, and your public comments will become part of the record.
Great.
And if you guys want a reference point, in the chat box, our attorney Jalek outlined some points that properties have to make to be designated as historic. And so that's in the chat box, and I can copy and paste that into a message for you via email. And that might give you some talking points to consider when you're thinking about Fife, so that you're not just coming off the dome. You kind of have an outline of what the Georgia Historic Preservation Division is looking for when they talk about historic things.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Can I just add one thing to that? This is
Absolutely.
Thank you. This is actually referenced in the ordinance itself. So if you all have a copy of the ordinance, that really designates what it is you should be asking and looking for in order to designate a property as historic. And to your concern, Chairman, I did look through the ordinance, and I saw how Preservation Commission can be confusing when you're talking about the Historical and Cultural Landmarks Commission. So what I can do, it was like a short form that I had used. So what I can do is just replace it with the with Historic and Landmarks Commission, just so we stay consistent throughout the ordinance, because the bylaws refer to it as that as well. So that's an excellent point, and I'm happy to make that correction and just keep it consistent.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also back to the, speaking of Fife, they're not actually looking at a particular property. They are looking at designating what might even be considered as a potential Fife overlay as being of historic significance, and that there are at least a half a dozen houses in that community that may be in excess of 50 years in age. So that's, we would be looking at designating the Fife community as a historic area. And that is, I think, allowed in our ordinance and bylaws, and that is what we would be considering. So just to put that out there for you to be considering or thinking about it. And if you have any questions or comments at maybe our next meeting, or maybe we have an interim meeting to discuss that.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
So if there are no other comments or anything else for the good of the committee, again, I appreciate everybody's attendance, and I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a great afternoon, and look forward to talking to you soon. And Marissa and Nathan, thank you for your assistance on this and putting together our hopefully a little bit of a website or mini website, so as to say. So thanks again, and everybody have a great afternoon and safe weekend.
Have a nice
Alrighty.
weekend.
Thanks,
Same to you.
everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, take care.
Bye-bye.